Your basic beekeeping tools are this beekeeping tool. I don't know if it has a special name. It's beekeeping tool. Your smoker, again, I don't use smoke normally, but it's good for safety, especially with all these people. So I might hand off the smoker to someone. Just to, it almost like creates a wall.
You need me to walk around with it? Or
I think you're fine, and I might ask to grab it, and then a bee brush, right, to kind of swoosh things out. Now, I like working in a horizontal hive like this because it's really, there's no bending down, right? It's just kind of working it. So I'm going to, our entrance is over here.
Is that a newer idea, or is that all?
It is actually a much older idea that's been retrofitted to fit. So I'm opening up these really slowly. Again, these girls are pretty well behaved. A couple things. You see these little beetles?
Yeah.
These are called hive beetles. They are technically a pest. So the beetles kind of,
Are they a pest to the bee?
Yeah, and so the bees, you'll actually see the bees are kind of corralling them.
Oh yeah.
If it's a healthy hive, hive beetles shouldn't be an issue. If you see a hive that's really, really overrun with hive beetles, that's normally a symptom of something else gone wrong.
how common are they?
Hive beetles?
Yeah.
Everywhere. It's really hard to find a hive without a hive beetle. So I like using the sugar spray because it kind of distracts the bees. Again, this is my first line of defense. Smoke is my second line of defense. They like that sugar, and it has some lemongrass oil and some spearmint oil in it. And I'll show you in a second once I get a frame out, but they are just nibbling away. Right now their tongues are all out.
Aren't they the males?
So actually no, these are it's almost exclusively females. I will point out a drone if we see one.
Drones are males?
Drones are males, and drones are only good for one thing, if you all can guess. And drones do not have stingers because they have something else.
I kept some as a kid. When I worked the hives, I'd pull the drones out and carry them around and show all my friends. Look, I caught bees.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see a drone in here. So right now, if we look at the hive, obviously they're not that agitated or aggressive. This is a hive that has brood on it. So brood is baby honeybees. So when you see a brood frame, you're more likely to see the queen. I'm gonna go around real quick. So you can see we have honey in the corners, right? And then most of these, if you look really close, I see eggs in these empty cells.
Yeah.
So they look like teeny tiny little grains of rice. And then the ones that are capped, these are baby bees that have not hatched yet. And if you look, some of these bees are fuzzier than other bees. So the fuzzier the bee, the younger the bee is.
So is the brood the egg, or
Yep.
is it the baby?
So the brood is a term for all of it,
Okay.
right? The egg, the larva, the developing pupa. So this is all bee bread here.
Bee what?
Bee bread. So bee
What?
bread is, there's two sources of food that honeybees eat. Nectar, which they dehydrate and turns it into honey. That is their source of carbohydrates. That's what adult bees eat. But the baby bees eat, they need protein. And so they eat bee bread, which is a combination of enzymes from the bee spit, honey or nectar, and pollen. So they're actually packing pollen and making a fermented food.
We couldn't hear you about the fuzzy one.
Yeah,
the
sure.
baby one.
So all all of these look like worker bees to me, so they're all female. If you see ones that look a little fuzzier than other ones, so like this one's kind of fuzzy, or it's like that one has a bulb, those are the fuzzier they are, the younger they are. Look how fuzzy that one is. And if you look, you'll see some of these are capped, some of them have eggs in them. The eggs are really hard to see, they're like little teeny tiny grains of ribbon.
The solid thing is the bee bread.
The solid stuff is the bee bread. And I'm actually going to pull this frame out because bee bread is really tasty and it's not something you can get commercially.
How much honey or kind of product do you expect from a hive this size?
From a hive this size, I think you could easily get 50 pounds of honey.
Annually?
Annually, yeah.
So you said you and your partner made this. Where did you
Yeah.
get instructions and stuff?
So we, that's a great question. We really like this natural beekeeper. He's on YouTube called Dr. Leo Sherishkin.
Okay.
And he has a book out too called Beekeeping with a Smile. He has all these plans online.
Okay.
And I have back problems, so we like working this way. I will say that the bees kind of prefer this, it seems, because it's a little bit more solid or stable as opposed to constantly being shuffled around. But they do, I think honey production is lower in a hive like this than it is a hive like this.
Okay. Any idea why?
I think it's because it's a lot easier for the queen to move horizontally than it is for her to go up and down vertically. So you have a lot more. Look at them go! They're just good little bees. And the great thing about this hive too is you can just kind of shuffle. Like I'll take this out to kind of see what's going on this frame. I suspect it's a lot more the same. We have brood, and it looks like there's do y'all see the eggs in the empty cells?
Can you show over this way?
Yeah, I'm coming. Y'all see the eggs in the empty cells? They're like little teeny tiny grains of rice. So if I was to come back 15 days from now, this entire frame would look like the sandpaper covering.
So those are the eggs right here.
So the ones that are covered, these are bees that haven't hatched yet.
Okay.
That's a really tiny baby bee that just hatched. But the ones that are empty, bees have already hatched out of them, and the queen has been here and laid eggs within the last 3 days.
Oh, and all the empty
And
cells.
which one?
Yeah.
What's the bee bread? The bee bread is this stuff right here. So actually, this is an open frame. So I'm gonna cut a chunk of bee bread out.
Oops, sorry.
So the stuff I'm removing right now, the bees will repair in a week or so, as if it never happened.
And who makes the bee bread?
The workers do.
So the bee bread is for the infant bees.
Yeah. So you can kind of see how that pollen's been packed in there.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So yeah,
interesting.
Good stuff.
so the pollen's been packed in there, and
So
again,
bee-
that's a combination of honey and an enzyme and bacteria. So it's a fermented product.
So what's the honeycomb?
So that is the bee bread, and I'll put that aside so we can nibble.
What do you
I
mean?
wonder why they're grouping up like that.
Honeycomb is the structure.
They could be moving honey around. It looks to me like, because I sprayed it, they're like,
Okay,
this
you get
area is really tasty.
And so in a conventional vertical hive, there's sometimes a separator to keep the queen down
Yeah.
below. So-
Yes.
And that keeps it all honey up above,
Yep.
right?
So it's called a queen excluder. I don't like using queen excluders because I found that if it's not worth the effort for a bee to go up, they may just not go up there. So different hives have different temperaments.
And then
for
so
bee
they got
excluders.
free access to the whole thing in this horizontal one.
They should. I haven't Billy worked this hive last, so let's see what's going on at this end. Because so bees respond to it. So yeah, this whole
Yeah.
this hive has room to expand. So you can see the hive is active in this space right now.
So you would just move that board and get more of those.
Exactly. Yep.
frames.
So this is made to fit 35 deep frames, which is about the maximum capacity of a hive. Bees naturally won't get bigger than this, but bees also are, they're not the kind of creature where they're like, we can't fill this space anymore, or they're like, there's more space, so I have to fill it. So that's kind of why this works, is because in theory, everything the bee colony needs is right in here, and then anything that gets put on top is surplus, because it's not like the bees say like, oh, we have enough, we're done.
Yeah.
So, and that surplus is what gets harvested. So, yeah, y'all have
So, when I did my bees, it was in South Florida. Do these have a downtime?
Winter.
They do. Okay.
Yeah. So, the way I would say.